it's this lyrics or beats debate, and that's how T-Pain framed it. Nowadays the beat carries the song, and by extension, lyrics are trash and the beats are the only thing that matters. And because of that, that means that a hot beat will be a hit regardless of the lyrics. Peace, what's going down? It is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast powered by BeatStars. BeatStars.live twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our free music business mentorship program. Today is the 100th episode, which is amazing. Dame is going to commemorate the 100th episode by publicly firing me, right?
Not 100 episodes. I think it's dope. It's, to me, I think, being consistent is hard. However, if you kind of enjoy what you do, and, I feel like we have enough experience in the music industry to have these conversations weekly. And, we talk about a lot of different topics, but it's only because we have so many years of experience, that I think that it's easier to do this on a weekly basis because of that experience. But I just think we enjoy it, and so I think that's what makes being consistent a little easier in this case, because a lot of people fall off, and we're not necessarily too worried about being like the biggest podcast either, because we do so many other different things, which is kind of good and bad. Like, we definitely should be pushing this podcast more, because I think there's a lot of good conversations that come out of this podcast, and a lot to be learned.
Next episode we'll discuss the details of the 7-figure Spotify offer and just go from there.
We definitely got to talk about that, the Joe Budden podcast again, because I listened to Rory and Mal's response to Joe. And there's some things to be learned. This podcast isn't about drama. It's not diving deep into any type of drama. If we do dive into drama, hopefully there's some learnings that come out of it. So we can talk about that as well. But first, some updates on the 1 week notice project. For those that don't know, I'm put together a project in which we're flying 6 artists out to create a project in a week. This is actually the second project, part of a 1 week notice series. So it's going down again. Next month. DJ Pain 1 and Dream Live Beats are producing the album. They've already sent over some fire beats. The participants have already started brainstorming ideas. So the energy is perfect. Like, I feel really good about this project. And like I told you before, if for some reason this project goes south, I'm leaving the music industry for good. I'm out, Pain. I'm tapping out. I'll still do the MEC, but in terms of working with artists or trying to put together projects. But I don't even want to think about that, because the energy is so good for this project. And I'm super excited because everybody involved is like super talented. So, I'm just excited to see how the creativity clashes and what kind of, beautiful music comes out of it. So yeah, man, I'm excited. We'll announce the artists this week, actually. So if you're listening to this podcast Monday, we're going to announce the artists on Tuesday that are going to be a part of it. And going forward, provided this one goes well, it's going to be at least annually. I might even do it twice a year, because I'm that passionate about the idea. And I've been getting so much support that I think I'll be able to have the resources and the support to be able to do it twice a year. But we'll see how this one goes first.
So let's talk about you disrespecting T-Pain's legacy by disagreeing with his tweet. No, I do want to say people were upset that we had an opinion about T-Pain's opinion, but I feel like that's an entirely different conversation, one that I'm definitely not willing to waste time on. Because disagreeing with people isn't disrespectful. It's just not.
What I would say to that, because I know that there are some people that be like, oh, you guys haven't accomplished as much as T-Pain. Like, what do you guys know?
Yeah, but these are from people who haven't done anything themselves compared to us. So it's just this really stupid, like, I would never get into an argument with someone and say, well, you don't have a gold record, or you don't have 15 years experience in the music business, because it's just dumb. Everyone can have an opinion. And when it comes down to that part where everyone's saying like, T-Pain can have an opinion because T-Pain's a great. I'm like, yeah, of course he can have an opinion. Absolutely.
But it's true. I agree with that as well. But my experience is different, and it's more. I have more experience in what I do and than T-Pain does. Right? Like I've been working with independent artists as a manager, as a label owner, and now as kind of like an educator in the space. And I understand the ramifications of what he says better than he does, in my opinion. Right? Like he is, I think maybe a Grammy Award winner. I don't know if he won any Grammys, but definitely platinum. Definitely a platinum recording artist and producer. So that's, in terms of making music, like I don't have the accomplishment that he has. But what I do have is more experience than him, like understanding what those comments do in the independent artist community and how much, back and forth, negative back and forth, it's going to create amongst artists and producers. So I feel like from that standpoint, like I do have the credibility to understand like what's going to fall out of comments like that and how it's going to impact our community. And I know it's going to be negative. So that's why I said what I said. It had nothing to do with me being able to make a beat or a song like T-Pain. So that's what I would say to people that, say, oh, he's T-Pain and he's a super accomplished artist. Yes, we gave him credit for that. We said in the episode that he's a legend. He's one of my favorite artists. I love his music. But that has nothing to do with, the angle in which I think we were talking about, his comments.
Well, it also has nothing to do with internet logic. And his tweet, the comment is proof that T-Pain's tweet did exactly what you said it would do, which is start this whole generational conflict with people. Because the people in the comment section on our Instagram alone, this is our Instagram. This is not T-Pain's social platforms, which have way more reach than our Instagram. But the people in the comment section on our post ran with the narrative that new music is trash. And the way they frame it is that it's this lyrics or beats debate, and that's how T-Pain framed it. Nowadays the beat carries the song, and by extension, lyrics are trash and the beats are the only thing that matters. And because of that, that means that a hot beat will be a hit regardless of the lyrics, which, I mean, people are actually asserting that. They're saying as long as the beat bangs, it's going to be a hit. Really? Okay. I wish I'd have so many more hits. And this
you just sent over a ton of dope beats for the 1 week notice project. Maybe I should just forget the artists. I'm just going to take the beats and I'm just going to put them on Spotify and Apple and not, invest in this experience to have these artists complement the beats. And we'll just call it, oh shit, we don't even need 1 week notice. We could put it up in a day. It could be, 10-second notice, and we'll see how well it does.
We'll put the artists on it. We'll give them the chance to just, have their names on it, since we know it's my beats that are carrying everything into the top 10 Billboard charts. But I mean, it's not a debate based on facts. It's just always based on opinion, and it's based on negativity. So in other words, it's based on the negative opinion people have of current music. And this conversation comes up every generation. You'd think we'd learn by now, especially those of us who are old enough to have experienced different eras of music, because we've seen it come up so many times, but we just like to argue and we keep bringing it up. And personally, I think these arguments poison our brains because they're not productive. All they do is they unite us with those who have negative opinions along with us, and they divide us from those who disagree with us. And then it's just a bunch of anger. We don't get anywhere. It doesn't make us more successful. It doesn't make us better artists. It doesn't make us better musicians. It's just pointless. And people always swear they have facts on their side. So like one of the comments I loved was like, it's proof that I have proof that that beats matter and lyrics don't matter, and proof. And then like he just went on to express his opinion, which was, lyrics are trash nowadays. And so it's ridiculous to me to have this notion that people listen to artists only for beats and not lyrics. Because how many rappers have access to amazing beats? All of them. Because most of the hits nowadays are coming from the internet. So everyone has access to these BeatStars beats. And it's happened over and over again. Why don't we have multiple hit songs to the same beat all the time? Why? I mean, you can name so many hit songs from Panda to the YBN Namir song that rubbing off the paint. Those were BeatStars beats, so people had access to these. 6ix9ine, a lot of his tracks were gotten from YouTube, so everybody who licensed those beats and released a song should have had a hit, right? Because the beats are the only things that makes a song a hit. So why doesn't everyone have a hit? They had access to the same beats 6ix9ine had access to. They had access to the same beats YBN Namir had access to. They should have hits. Now, granted, it's happened before, like in dancehall, for example, but not every single song to that same instrumental blew up. So right there, all of a sudden, I mean, there's objective proof that this opinion is wrong. And it just shows that it's nothing but an opinion. And then also, like, go to a concert. All these rappers that you think are trash, actually don't go to their concert, because if you're one of those people that sits at home and thinks that all rappers are trash, you're probably a hermit. You don't want to be around people, and it's just stay inside. But go on YouTube and look at concert footage of some of these so-called trash rappers and see how the crowd interacts. Are they just sitting there listening to the beat, or are they rapping the lyrics and singing the lyrics along with them? I guarantee you they're singing the lyrics along with them because they love the lyrics. And so therefore, to them, and you know, which are millions of fans, the lyrics do matter more or as much as the beats. That's observable data. That's not my opinion. I can say a lot of music is trash. I can say this is great, this is not great. The fact of the matter is, if millions of people think that the music is that the lyrics are amazing and they're fans of the lyrics, then that's just the truth. You can't say lyrics don't matter to fans, because if that's the debate, that lyrics don't matter to fans and the fans say lyrics do matter, then where's the debate? There is no debate.
Yeah. You know, and here's my hot take of the day. You know, producers love this conversation. You know, the producers that feed into this, that it's all the beats.
For the record, I don't. So I don't want to generalize. Obviously, producers that clearly don't love the producers I know do not love this debate.
Yeah. Okay. So not all producers, but I will tell you this: there are just as many, and I would venture to say more, trash producers than there are trash artists. I believe there are more trash producers than there are trash artists. You know, it's not like all of these producers are being super creative with the beats, and producers have more help in creating their art than artists have. You have new technology. You don't have to learn anything about music. You have loops and all these different little beats and packages that are being sent. Like, they have more help to create their art. So, and I think there are more producers these days, because, you know, it takes a little bit more courage and confidence to be an artist, to be in front of people, you know, to take their scrutiny, to put their face and name to their art online and have it be attacked or supported, or take the risk of it being one or the other, right? Like, I believe, and I'm gonna ask Abe how many people are on BeatStar, because I truly do believe that there's more producers today than artists because of that. Like, you could just be in your room making a beat. You don't have to, you don't have to put your face out there at all. Although you should be branding yourself and putting yourself out there. You know, so I think that a lot of producers like to jump on the argument, you know, and tap in and just pile on to the artists when the artists are taking a lot of shit. But, you know, it's not like there are, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some creative producers that are pushing it forward, that have their own sound, they develop their own thing. But I think that, you know, when producers see this conversation online, Here they come, rah, 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 just to jump on it and pile it on. But hey, we need to look at what are the producers doing? Like how many of you guys are really pushing, the sound forward, have developed your unique sound, have really put in the hours and the time to really be good at production. There's just as many terrible producers as there are artists. I'll tell you that.
Okay, I will agree with that. I wouldn't say there are more trash producers. I think.
Well, I only said that because I think that I don't know, but I just
probably more producers in general, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but the ratio to like good to bad isn't more pronounced in producers than it is artists, recording artists. I mean, my point is, I don't want to make another generalization just to quell this other generalization that T-Pain made. My thing is that we all have a lot to give each other, and a lot of us live in glass houses. So why even create a debate like a trash Olympics? It's pointless when the vast majority of the producers that are upset with recording artists, or who will very willingly jump into the conversation about how beats are more important than lyrics and lyrics are trash nowadays, the vast majority of those producers participating in that conversation are trying to sell beats to rappers. So it's like, if your business is to make donuts, why would you go on social media all day from your donut shop social media talking about people who eat sugar, people who are overweight and lead an unhealthy lifestyle are trash? It's a terrible analogy, but you get what I'm saying. Hopefully you're just kind of, you're disrespecting your client base. And then this is, to me, and can I go off on a tangent, please? Because this is what bothers me about this conversation, because we're musicians. And so if we're constantly, like, me as a producer, my job is to produce music. Why would I sit around hating on other artists all the time? It just, my brain is toxic if I do that. Because, so let's talk about current music being trash. Every generation's had that narrative, right? That popular music is trash. And I'm just going to say artists like Polo G, Moray, Pooh Shiesty, Meg Thee Stallion, Billie Eilish, The Baby, they were all talented. And if you call them trash without blinking, you put yourself in this old bitter category, in my opinion. And you're really limiting yourself. You're putting yourself in a box. You're building walls. As a producer, if you think that current music is trash and you say this rapper is trash, this artist is trash, you're putting yourself in a box. You're putting yourself in a really toxic category. And, that's your choice. Music is subjective. But that brings me to my point. People think current popular music is trash because they don't have an objective ear. All they have is an opinion. And I don't know if anyone can truly have an objective ear, but the vast majority of people can't tell you why their favorite song is good or why their least favorite song is trash. And they damn sure can't explain why they could hate an entire generation of music. It's like the whole label of mumble rap, which I don't want to relive, but so many people call rappers like Lil Yachty mumble rap, where you could hear and understand every single word of his music. So it was just this pointless label that didn't really mean anything other than, I don't like this category of music. I don't like this genre, this generation of musicians. So here's an example. For me, I didn't like Madonna when I was a little kid, right? And I didn't understand why my cousin loved her music so much. And I hated the band Hanson in middle school. And Spice Girls and like all these, I hated. Now that I'm a producer, I listen to Madonna's music or Hanson's music, and I appreciate the musicality. I appreciate the vocal production. I appreciate the branding. I appreciate the composition. And I acknowledge that I had no real reasons for disliking them to begin with, other than, I was a young boy. I was supposed to like G.I. Joes and video games, which I did. I wasn't supposed to like Madonna, which I didn't. There's no real musical basis. There's no real objective reason for me to hate on these artists, other than maybe my friends would think I'm a weirdo if I'm, a 10-year-old kid listening to Human Nature. You know what I mean? So I'm not the Michael Jackson one, the Madonna one. Now that I'm grown, I see people hating on music under the pretense that it's bad music, but it's not bad music because people like it. If people like it, to them, it's good music. You know, and it could just be that the music is new and weird and different, like Lil Yachty's weird falsetto singing, and you might not like it, and it's not for you. But calling that entire generation of musicians as trash is just gonna create more problems for you. Especially given that we're making rap music, because you know it was so polarizing when it first came out. Like either people loved it or they hated it, and probably more people hated it when it first came out and made all these claims like it's not real music. You know, like even I don't want to say his name, a little bitch ass Ben Shapiro. His whole rap music is objectively not music because of this and that, and my mom was a professor and blah blah blah. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and he sounds like an idiot. And people like him look like idiots trying to articulate why rap isn't music because they have nothing. You ask them and they just, you know, they say the stupidest shit. So why put yourself in that category? And then here's where things get super crazy. A lot of people who claim popular music is trash make music themselves. And I read these comments all the time. You see rappers claiming music is trash, and then I listen to their music, and it's not very good. And for me, as a professional producer, I can tell you that their music isn't doing well for specific reasons. If you ask me, "Hey, I'm bitter. I hate music, but my music isn't doing well. Why is it not doing well?" I can tell you. I can say your cadences are too common. Your dynamics are lacking. Your melodies are monotonous. There's not enough range. Your sound is dated. Here's why: the mixing is dull. The hook isn't memorable. But they haven't reached that level of objectivity when they listen to their own music. So they'll listen to something like Polo G, which is amazing, and they'll say this is trash. It's just this toxic cycle that I think really, as a producer, as any kind of music maker, if you are just passing out judgment left and right, this is trash, this is trash, this is whack, this whole generation is trash. What does that say about you and your ear? What does that say about you and your relationship and love for music? What does that say about you and your connection to the artist community? It says really negative things. And I understand where these opinions are coming from. They're coming from places of frustration. They're coming from places of ignorance. They're coming from places of wanting to just kind of fit in with the popular narratives. For me, I went through that, and I hate that I went through that, but I grew out of it, and I'm really, really grateful that I grew out of it. And then I can just listen to music and not instantly judge it and try to see the good in it, because if somebody's a fan of this music, there has to be something to it, and I want to know what that something is, and I want to be able to express and articulate what that something is.
Right. I mean, I think that the important point being that this is the Music Entrepreneur Club, operating in a way in which you're saying like things are trash, like it's ultimately hurting your business. Like Payne said, like you are selling an ingredient that an artist needs to create a larger body of work. And, it's going to prevent you from selling more beats. You're going to fuck up relationships because you're not going to know how to negotiate. And this is a problem with just different parties in the music industry in general, which I think would be a good transition to the Joe Budden podcast, is that if your mindset is like, the beat does everything, as soon as you start negotiating, you're going to want too much. You're going to fuck up all your negotiations. You're going to want too much, and you're going to overvalue what you bring to the table, and you're not going to be able to build long-lasting relationships that serve profitable going forward. And this is a theme that I think, the Joe Budden podcast is a good transition, because I think that, the same thing happened in that situation when you overvalue like what you bring to the table. This is why I think most groups break up, right? As they have more success, right? Like, let's just say there's four members of a team. They start having a lot of success. If you ask each of them what they contributed to the success, the sum of that total is going to be more than 100%. And that's the problem, right? Because you can't split a pie more than 100%. You can't divvy that different ways. Because when you ask 4 people what they contributed to success, one person's going to be like, oh, I did everything. I did at least 75. And the other people are, maybe one person's like, oh, I did 25. And the other person will be like 50 and 40. You're eventually going to have a grand total of 276%. And obviously the money can't be split 276% ways. And then that's when people start feeling the type of way. And if you've been following the Joe Budden drama, it was interesting because when Joe Budden talked about what happened, he left out a crucial piece of information, what people typically do when they're telling their version of the story. So when Joe Budden was talking about the situation, he made it seem like Rory and Mal were just like employees, like they were just salary based, like they were just getting a certain amount a month. And if that's the case, if they're requesting Joe to be audited, that's out of pocket, because if the agreement is, hey, you're getting 10,000 a month, then as long as you see the check come in for 10,000 a month, it shouldn't matter what the business is doing. The agreement was 10,000 a month. You got 10,000 a month. You don't need to see my books. You don't need to audit me. So that's what Joe made it seem like was the case when he gave his side of the story. However, Rory and Mal revealed on their sit down that they actually had a profit sharing agreement, right? They didn't say what their percentage was, but if it's a profit sharing agreement, then yes, you need access to what the revenue was, what the costs were, so that they can see if they're getting the appropriate percentage and the appropriate number. And, did you follow this at all, Payne? I know we didn't talking about this before the podcast.
No,
did you follow it?
It made me sad. So, because I like the podcast and I like Joe Budden and I like Parks, and I don't know Rory or Mom, but, I don't dislike them. So it's just, I've been in a lot of group. I agree with what you're saying, Dame. I've been in a lot of group situations, and I've talked about this where things fell apart. And from an outside standpoint, if they fell apart for no reason because people didn't understand the inner workings of that group and who was contributing what, and they didn't see that not everyone was on the same page, and regardless of what the specifics were of each situation, it's always just sad, especially given that for me, I'm just being emotional about this because it looks as though, to me, all of them were friends and longtime friends and not just business partners, and that's a real tragedy for me. So I don't even know what I can say about it other than I'm sad to watch it happen.
Yeah. So here, when you're part of a team and an individual in that team starts to make public comments and uses the word I, the writing is on the wall. Let me tell you, the writing is on the wall of how that person feels. That's intentional. Mal was telling a story, because they took the podcast on tour, and the tour was very successful. The tour would sell out. Their live show would sell out. And he would say that he remembers a conversation. I think they were in Philly or some city, and the line was wrapped around the corner. And he talked with Joe Budden, and Joe Budden was like, man, I got the line wrapped around the corner. And it's your other teammates hear that. If you're part of a team, and I don't care if you are the bigger percentage of the team, if you have other people on your team that are contributing and are valuable to the team, and you're over here using they hear that so loudly. So if you are a leader and maybe a central figure to a team, I would just be very mindful of the words you use, because the rest of your team is going to hear that, and it's going to impact them in a way that maybe you don't even realize. But I've been a part of a lot of different teams in my life. And when you start using that team probably not going to last very long. Hobson did the same shit. Before the 2015 tour took off. Like we were at where our merch gets made. So that's where the tour was taken off from. And the bus was there and he was hella late. And we got into an argument and he stood outside the bus. He was like, this bus is here for me. The fans are here for me. And Dizzy and Jaron are right there too. Like Dizzy, Jaron, like the whole team, like all the merch people, the tour manager. So I'm already like, yo, this ain't cool. You might be the biggest artist on the label right now, but you can't do this. Like you're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be a co-owner in the label. If this is how you popping off, like, and the label wasn't around for much longer after that. Like you have to be aware of your words. Words are powerful. Words have meaning beyond just how they sound. You have to know how your words impact people, because you start using and you're part of a team, like I said, that team's probably not going to be around much longer. And, there was so much similarity. When I was hearing Rory and Mal talk, I was getting so many flashbacks from Funk Volume because there was so many similarities in terms of how Joe Budden is, that Hobson is as well. They almost, I don't know Joe Budden, but they almost seem like the same damn person because a lot of the same things happen. So it was crazy just listening to that. And it is unfortunate, like you said, like it's a successful podcast. They're all very good at what they do. They all play a role and add a different element to the conversation. And it's just unfortunate to see this happen time and time again, with successful teams, and it definitely unearthed some feelings that I had about Funk Volume. But it sucks, man. It really sucks.
Yeah. I hate to see it. And I think what I really hate to see is just, whatever everybody involved in that podcast is going through is amplified by social media. It's just people want the drama. They want more information. They want people to say more, pick sides, this and that. And damn, I just
but I'm sorry for cutting you off. Hey, we can't blame that on. And I'm not saying you are, but like Joe Budden did this. Just like Hobson did it. Like nothing had to be on social media. Like nothing.
Yeah, but there are more people involved in the podcast than just him. And yes, granted that there are the major players. You know what I mean? And yeah, they went public. But again,
well, not they. Like there's an individual that chooses for this to be public because maybe they think they're right, number one, and maybe they think they'll benefit from. I mean, Joe Budden is not a stranger to controversy as well. Like this shit is intentional. If you are really friends and if you are, really business partners, all this shit should be taken care of like behind the scenes. It shouldn't be public. So I'm not going to, what social media is going to do with it once they get a hold of it. But Joe Budden made the decision to do that.
Well, maybe I'm being unfair too, because as much as we would like this kind of thing to not be public, it's a podcast and it's public and life is public and public figures' lives are public. And it's a matter of public, what's the word? Just people want to know this stuff. Fans want to know this stuff.
Do you think they have a right to know? Like, because so the Joe Budden podcast recently has been supported via, Patreon, people subscribing, paying $25 a month to get access to the podcast. Do you feel like if you're supporting the podcast financially or, supporting an artist financially, do you feel like the public has a right to know?
Can we talk about this on another podcast? Because I do feel as though that's a really big can of worms, because it's not just with podcasts and Patreon. or membership kind of services, there's this feeling of ownership. This is a bigger conversation. There's this feeling of ownership when it comes to a person who is a fan or a supporter of a public figure. There's this sense of access or of right to access. Do you know what I'm saying? Where I've seen it happen where, like a fan of a rapper will, want to talk to them for hours when they meet them at the show. And then the rapper's like, okay, I just talked to 100 other people. I got to leave. And like, man, they don't love their fans. I'm a fan. I've supported them for the last 5 albums. I deserve this time. But it's like, that's not realistic as an expectation. And I get that all the time where someone will say, yo, I support your music. I watch your YouTube all the time. Why are you such an asshole that you won't subscribe to me or follow me back or this and that? It's like, because I don't know you. I didn't sign a contract with you that says as long as you consume my YouTube content that I'm automatically indebted to you. But there is this concept out there of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that there are artists that I think go above and beyond, and I think it benefits, that's probably just the people that they are, and it benefits their business longer term. Like you turn your fans into super fans, right? But fans need to chill, right? Because it is a transactional relationship. If you support the music, you don't deserve an additional benefit beyond the art that you enjoy, right? Like, if an artist puts out an album, you give them $10, they give you a dope album, that's the fair exchange. If an artist decides to do a little bit more or respond to your DM or talk to you at a show, that's icing on the cake. That's not an expectation. If you go to a show and you pay $25 to get into a show, the artist is performing for that $25. Now, if they want to jump in the stands and stay after and do other stuff, like, that's extra. You didn't necessarily pay for that. So fans need to chill out. Like, if you enjoy the content from an artist, like, that's what you're getting. You don't get anything additional, right? Like, that they need to I mean, I know a lot of fans do not understand that. They're like, oh, since I've been a fan for 10 years, I should be able to come over to your house. Like, nah, this isn't a personal relationship. This is a transactional relationship. You stream my music, you enjoy my music. That's the fair exchange. You paid for the shirt. You obviously like the shirt. That's the fair exchange. You don't ask Nike for more than the shoes that you bought. You don't be like, oh, Nike, since I bought these shoes, now I get to tour your headquarters and, get discounts for the rest of my life. Nah, you like the shoes. They were $100. Now you got the shoes. You gave the $100. That was the fair exchange. And I know most fans understand that, but there are a lot of fans that don't. And I just think they need to chill out.
Yeah. Wow. We touched on a lot of stuff. So maybe we should end it there before we make our own heads explode and our listeners' heads explode. 1 week notice. I'm excited to announce the artists because I obviously know who they are, and it's hard for me to not. There's a lot. Like, sorry, I've been texting because there's something really cool happening that could potentially change my life, and I want to talk about that too. It's really hard to not reveal information. Thank you. Trust me, I'm going to talk about it next week. But man, I've been kind of like teasing it out just to like my email list and stuff, and not really, but not in the sense where I'm betraying the nature of what it is. Like, they don't know even what the category that this accomplishment would fall into. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard in the music world because that's just kind of how things are, and I don't want to call it a superstition, but I've been in situations where up until the day of the release, I was supposed to be on an album, or up until the day of a contest launch, we were going to have some big contest, and then some weird factor, some unforeseen circumstance intervened, and it's all gone. So I'd just rather not make it public until it's real. And
yeah, you don't want to mess up relationships, and
not that too. Yeah,
like you don't want to mess up relationships, and in the event that something happens and it doesn't happen, you don't want to announce to your fans like this big thing is happening, and then you thought your song was going to be in the next Fast and Furious, and then last minute the music supervisor decided to go with something else, and you're over here telling your fans that your song's about to be in the next Fast and Furious. Like you just never know. So I get it, but congrats on whatever it is, and I look forward to talking about it next week.
Okay, cool.
And I look forward to talking more about 1 week notice too, because I just tease it up. My personal platforms aren't that big, and I just throw it out there, almost daily at this point. And I want to be able to, let the artists start talking about it, drum up some interest. And I want to be able to start making posts about the artists and introducing people, because these artists aren't that big yet. So, I take a lot of pride in being able to find up and coming talent and exposing them to new potential fans, because I think I'm pretty confident that as they get more people, as they get more exposure, they're going to become a lot bigger artists. And I'm proud that I get to be a part of that growth. So, hopefully other people think they're dope as well.
Cool, man. Until next time, this is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. If you want to be alerted every time we go live, which is on beatstars.live Mondays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Dame has that info for you.
All you need to do is text MEC to 844-206-7800, and you'll get an alert right before we go live.
100 episodes. Wow. Thanks for sticking with us. I mean, seriously, that's amazing. Peace, everyone.
Peace.